to see you. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Nice to join you here in downtown Vancouver on the territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. It's an exciting time at the Eby House. We're 8 days till Christmas, and you know, the kids have all these ideas about really expensive and practical gifts that are just never going to happen. But they've been watching the news, and they think they have a loophole. They've suggested that they enter into an MOU with Santa to be able to achieve what they're hoping for. So we'll see how that shakes out. On that note, I had a productive discussion with the Major Projects Office in a meeting today. The clear outcome from that conversation, to my mind, is that British Columbia is indeed positioned to be the economic engine of our country's economy going forward. We talked about the major projects that we have on the board with the office and the need for us to stay coordinated and to work together to deliver. And particularly, I raised with the Major Projects Office the crucial work that we have to do around trade-enabling infrastructure, with the flooding that we saw in the Fraser Valley around Highway 1, and the threat, if we don't address that for the long term, that highway could face impacts that would last for months, disrupting trade across the country. The Massey Tunnel and the need for replacement there to ensure that goods are moving to our ports. Issues like the Second Narrows Rail Bridge that have been raised by companies like Nutrien about as choke points to our port that can restrict growth. We need to work together on addressing those crucial issues. The crucial piece for British Columbia is that we are a steady partner for the federal government for the vision that they have around the Canadian economy. We can deliver these projects. We are ready to go. And the projects for British Columbians mean family supporting jobs, means training opportunities for young people in every corner of the province. And it means that we're generating revenues that help pay for the public services that everybody needs. The commitment that we made coming out of the meeting was that we were going to continue to work together with the Major Projects Office to get these projects built as quickly as possible. The past year has been a wild year for British Columbians, Canadians, and people around the world. There's no question around that. Our economy under direct threat from the president, showing up in very real ways for families in British Columbia, especially in the forestry sector. And the choice continues to be for our provinces to submit to the direction put forward by the president, or to continue to build our own way, diversify our trading partners, strengthen our provincial economy and our national economy. And certainly British Columbia has chosen a direction. We have the resources, the market access, and the skilled people to deliver that. Here's where we are in terms of progress report on that work. We have major projects underway. Rents and the cost of housing coming down for British Columbians, more to do. More families being connected to family doctors, major new infrastructure, bridges like the Riverview Bridge, new hospitals in the province opening up. The economy, though, is still uneven. There are people who are not benefiting. They're facing higher costs. They're still under stress. So the work needs to continue. And that's why what comes next really matters. What we are seeing is a growing confidence, despite challenges, a growing confidence in major project proponents in our province. The Anglo-Teck decision to locate here in British Columbia. This is one of the world's largest mining companies, once combined. Their head office will be in the Lower Mainland. They have committed to spend $4.5 billion in Canada, and we know where the majority of that spend will be. It will be in British Columbia. It will be at the Teck smelter. It will be at the Highland Valley Copper Mine near Kamloops. It will be in the Northwest around projects like Galore Creek. This $4.5 billion commitment over 5 years means thousands of jobs in construction and servicing these mines, but also for suppliers in the Fraser Valley, in the Lower Mainland, and office jobs and knock-on benefits right across the province. We also got very positive news from Artemis Gold. They just recently opened their gold mine north of Prince George. They reached a decision this week to expand that project. That expansion is more than $1 billion investment in our province. It means 1,200 permanent jobs, 2,000 construction jobs, and comes on the heels of the Highland Valley Copper expansion announcement, which itself was 2,000 construction jobs and 1,200 permanent jobs, a multi-billion investment by Teck. There's a clear choice for our province here. One is to build projects and do so in partnership with First Nations to ensure stability and jobs and prosperity for the entire province. The other path is one of opposing these projects, of pulling away and fighting with First Nations, which means pink slips instead of paychecks for British Columbians. The stability is crucial for us in this moment of global chaos. We need to remain a stable and a quality partner for major projects investment, and we're going to do that. We also have a big year ahead. We believe, and we've written to the federal government this week through the Minister of Jobs, that Vancouver or British Columbia would be the ideal host of the Defence, Security and Resilience Bank. This is the bank that has been proposed to provide funding for NATO partners. Our position on the Pacific for Pacific partners and our financial sector makes us an ideal location for this bank, and we are advocating for that with the federal government. We have more than 8 major mining projects in final permitting. Half are expected to reach final investment decision in the next year. We have billions of investment in jobs and opportunities for British Columbians coming to final investment decision in the energy sector as well. LNG Canada Phase 2, as well as the Solisms LNG project are both, we expect, reaching final investment decision in the next year. These projects create good jobs for British Columbians and training opportunities and make us less dependent on the United States for our opportunities. We are going to build the way forward here in this province for people in British Columbia as well as the entire country. We're creating opportunity, and these jobs are showing up in real final investment decisions from real companies that are ready to build and are building right now in our province. And we need to do more. We need to make sure that we get this right so that all British Columbians benefit, to support them with affordability and the challenges they face, good paychecks, and the ability to build a good life here in British Columbia with high quality public services. Together, we're going to shape a stronger future for all British Columbians. So with that, I look forward to your questions, and thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. For reporters on the line, please press *1 to enter the queue. One question, one follow-up. And we're going to start with reporters in the room. If you can use the microphone provided and say your name and outlet, please.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Oh, the courtesy, I love it.
Well, we're tag teaming global questions here. Aaron MacArthur, Global News. You were Attorney General when the Interpretation Act was brought in. Your government closed debate on that amendment. A lot of critics say you're personally responsible for a lot of the crisis with property rights and Aboriginal issues in this province. How do you respond to those criticisms?
Well, I mean, that's obvious nonsense. The issue around Indigenous land claims, Section 35 of the Constitution, has been an issue in British Columbia for a long time as a province that was settled without treaties. The Chilcotin decision, which was concluded in 2014, before we formed government, established for the first time First Nations title over a massive swath of central British Columbia. We just marked the 10-year anniversary of that court decision. So the idea that Indigenous issues have just shown up in this province, I don't know who told you that, but that's not true. What is true is that our government has really tried to get away from courts and to focus on agreements. Because when you go to court, you get unpredictable outcomes. And I think that the last couple months have been a really good example of our anxiety about trying to stay out of court and trying to reach resolution at the table. The issues that private property owners face in Richmond, for example, came because we weren't able to get resolution outside of the court process with the Cowichan First Nations. And that was a complicated case involving 3 different First Nations that did not agree with each other about the direction forward. So these are hard and challenging issues. I don't pretend they're easy. And as a result of the decisions that we've seen recently, we're going to have to go and amend the Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, as well as the Interpretation Act, to make it clear what we meant to do with that legislation, which was to set up a schedule and a plan with First Nations on how we were going to work through this in a systemic way, recognizing that courts are not serving the interests of British Columbians in terms of predictability around this. And in fact, courts have told us that. They said, don't show up in court here, because we're just going to send you back to the table. Try to work it out between yourselves. That's what we're trying to do. It's working in many places in the province. You can see the major investments that are built on the stability of First Nations agreements and rely on the stability of those agreements. But there are challenges, and we're going to address those challenges. We're going to protect private property. We're going to ensure it's British Columbians doing this work, not the courts. And we're going to press forward.
Follow-up is Catherine.
Sure.
Premier, you have repeatedly said that you would step in terms of Metro Vancouver. Right now, it's a leadership in crisis. If you're not stepping in now, when will you step in?
Well, I think that the recent news out of Metro Vancouver certainly looks troubling from the outside. We'll work with the elected members of the Metro Vancouver board to understand how we can be helpful in ensuring stability for the Metro Vancouver board going forward. We need Metro Vancouver to be successful. This is an important venue for municipalities to come together and deliver that region-serving infrastructure. And we will be there to support the success of Metro Vancouver, including, if necessary, to step in.
When?
Well, the work that we continue to do with Metro Vancouver is to ensure as much stability as possible. If we feel we can't achieve stability and working in partnership with the elected representatives at Metro Vancouver, then we'll step in.
Hi, Premier. I just wanted to start out with a question for a colleague. We understand that you had been out in Abbotsford yesterday speaking to farmers. So we just want to get a sense of how it felt for yourself, what you saw there, your reaction to that, what you think about the lack of action from the federal government, and if you've committed to any funding to help out those folks.
Yeah, thanks. I had the opportunity to go out to Abbotsford, and I want to thank the mayor. I want to thank Ross and his team for meeting us out at Barrowtown Pump Station, and also visiting with some farmers who had been affected. First of all, for these farmers, devastating. I spoke with a farmer who, he's building his own farm. He's stepping out from the family land. He's been building on land that has been farmed for a long time without major challenges. He's had 3 big floods in 5 years, and is seriously asking himself whether he's able to continue. And they showed me photos, because we weren't even able to visit the worst affected farm, of just piles of muck and a huge number of drowned birds from their chicken operation. Just an awful cleanup operation ahead of them, and a devastating set of impacts that they've faced just trying to deliver their business. In addition to that direct impact on farmers, of course, we saw impact on Highway 1, a major trade corridor for our province and for the country. The push, which I'm very grateful to the mayor of Abbotsford for renewing with the federal government, is to recognize this corridor as not just the road, but also a gas pipeline, also fiber optic infrastructure that serves the region, and the devastating impacts that could come from an uncontrolled release of water from Washington state into our province. We need the federal government at the table on this. I'm glad they are freshly invigorated on this, and we're going to be looking to them for support, not just on that section, but also on other connecting corridors for trade in the province. Massey Tunnel, issues related to rail connections, and I look forward to working with the federal government on that.
Question for me now. When you talk about these big investments in the province, whether it's Anglo-Tech or trying to court the Defense Security and Resilience Bank, I recognize that you're talking to the business community when you discuss a lot of this kind of stuff. What do those kind of projects, or what does trying to bring that kind of business into the province mean for the average person? If you could just speak to the regular British Columbian who's wondering, what does this mean for me?
Yeah, thanks. So there's a couple of key pieces that come from these major projects. Obviously, when you're talking about big resource projects, you're talking about thousands of jobs. It means apprenticeships for young people that are able to get training and take those jobs on those sites that pay 6 figures and above. It means the opportunity to buy a home. It means the opportunity to build a good life here in the province. For our downtowns, this means jobs in the downtown areas, which means good news for local businesses and more foot traffic, which means improved community safety. Also means revenue for cities. When workers come in to local centers to buy things. It means suppliers, many mining and energy equipment suppliers are spread across the Lower Mainland and the interior. They provide direct supplies to these companies when they're engaged in major projects. And those purchasing agreements are part of the agreements we enter into when these projects are brought on. So at the end of the day, it means jobs with decent paychecks. It means more prosperity for local communities. And it also means revenue for governments. the fiscal pressures that our province is under. It helps deliver healthcare, education money, and being able to provide those services to British Columbians is a huge priority for our government, obviously. Thanks.
Good afternoon, Wildenit Paul with Radio-Canada. Just want to continue on the major projects. Northern BC is quite at the center. I wonder what will be done to address the gaps and challenges in terms of transportation, healthcare system, but also housing in those small communities.
Yeah, I think that this is one of the crucial conversations we're having around these projects. The federal government has committed infrastructure money for the first time in a while and connected it to housing. We've been working to connect local mayors that are in these major project areas, for example, the mayor of Terrace, with the federal minister to be able to have conversations about how they can provide that support around infrastructure that we need. And that's everything from sewage to housing and electrical hookups and other things like that. But the other component of this is some of these projects are in very rural and remote communities, and in the Northwest, where we hope to enter into a comprehensive agreement with the Tahltan First Nation to enable quick approval for these major mining projects. The things that are on the table that we're talking about are things like, can we get a pharmacy with a full-time pharmacist? Can we get a skate park for the local community? Can we get infrastructure? Can we benefit from some of the significant resource wealth that is in the territory where our people have been for a long time? So when we're entering into agreements with First Nations, those are the kinds of things that we're talking about. And it's about delivering for the entire province and for the Tahltan, that kind of prosperity, the jobs and opportunity, but it's also about improving those communities for the long term so that there's something left as a significant legacy after the projects are complete.
Thank you. On the MOU, can you give us an update about the discussions with Alberta and Ottawa?
Yeah, thanks. I haven't had any further conversations with Alberta or Ottawa about the MOU. I understand that we're going to try to get a date in the new year to sit down at the table together. I'll express my perspective on the agreement and the fact that obviously British Columbia wasn't at the table and the issues the agreement raises with us, especially around methane regulations, where Alberta is provided with a looser set of regulations, and obviously we're in competition with them in terms of natural gas production, which means that the looser regulations have an economic advantage over our tighter regulations. Conversations around issues like that, hopefully we'll be able to find some common ground in terms of how we can move forward together with our neighbor immediately to the east.
Hey, Premier, thanks for taking my question. The federal government hasn't lived up to its promise from 2021 after flooding. How can you ensure that these communities and our infrastructure will be protected when the money doesn't come from an even more devastating flood? Will you bring those concerns to a meeting with First Ministers this week? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Manu. So definitely I'll be raising the issue of transportation infrastructure at the Council of Federation table. Now, it was a couple of years ago that all the premiers together at this table pushed the federal government hard to look at transportation infrastructure, goods infrastructure across the country. I think this is a great opportunity to renew that call. This is definitely about flood prevention in the Fraser Valley, without question, but this is also a national issue. This is our Highway 1. This is a major goods corridor for the entire country, and addressing Highway 1 stability, ensuring that it's protected from floods from Washington State, addressing Massey Tunnel, addressing other rail-related bottlenecks should be a huge priority for the federal government, given their desire to significantly increase transport out of our ports. And if we don't deal with it, then we're going to see more decisions like the decision made by Nutrien to move to Washington State rather than to ship out of the west coast of Canada. I am convinced that we can deal with these issues, but it will require attention and focus on those bottlenecks and a real push from the federal government. If they have $60 billion to take an hour off of the train ride between Montreal and Ottawa, then I am sure we can reach agreement on moving goods and people around British Columbia without difficulty.
I'm very curious, looking at 2025, do you have any issues that you feel give you a big headache, like the Cowichan issue? And do you have anything you really look forward to the year of 2026? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, 2025 was a really difficult year for a lot of British Columbians, and it didn't have to be. The year started for me with, in many ways, with some tweets on Truth Social, and it ended with actual impact of those tweets on British Columbians, especially in the forest sector, with the closure of the Crofton pulp mill and other mills in the province, reducing the number of shifts. This is a devastating impact on people, not just in British Columbia, but across the country in the softwood sector. And that's incredibly difficult. We had a couple of hard court decisions on First Nations rights in the province that we're going to have to deal with as a province and as a country. These are crucial and important issues because the path forward for us cannot be achieved without partnership with First Nations, but it is work that has to be done by the people of the province, Indigenous and non-Indigenous alike, rather than by the courts. And so finding that path forward where people can have certainty around their private property, where that is protected at all costs, but also where we're able to enter into these agreements that provide stability for these multi-billion-dollar investments is the only path forward. So definitely huge challenges, but out of those challenges come the opportunities that are going to provide the employment and the jobs for British Columbians. And so some silver lining and certainly animating what I'm looking forward to in 2026.
We'll go to the phones next. Vaughn Palmer, Vancouver Sun.
Good day, Premier. Thanks for doing this. You said that offered an estimate of $150 million, ballpark estimate, of what it would take to offer sufficient financial guarantees to the private landowners, business and homeowners out in Richmond. There have been suggestions since you put out that number that the market value of the land affected by this decision is well over $1 billion. Are you sure $150 million is enough? And if not, how high are you prepared to go?
Yeah, thanks, Vaughn, for the opportunity to clarify. First of all, the affected area where the court said that people's titles are invalid is a very defined area. There's a number of businesses there. There's a number of homes. We've had staff going door to door to check in with people and understand what's happening there. And a significant number of seniors quite anxious about this. Everybody anxious, but we find particularly that the anxiety is centered on whether I'm going to be able to refinance, whether I'm not going to be able to get a mortgage, if I'm able to sell my place. And we feel that we could potentially be able to provide the support that's necessary to be able to at least resolve that issue for people in this uncertainty that they face. And so the policy work that we've been doing has been around how could we ensure that homeowners and business owners would still be able to access their financing as if the court decision hadn't happened. And so that's the policy work that's happening right now. The good news is that every single bank that we've checked with, they've confirmed they haven't changed their lending policies in the area. They continue to provide mortgages in the area. They continue to provide renewals. So it's possible that the amount may be zero. We do know that one business has reported a $100 million impact on a financing arrangement that they had, $100 million impact on a financing arrangement that they had. And we're in contact with that business, and their feedback is informing how we design this program. So the goal here is not for government to take over, to buy all the properties, which I'll take your number as written, but to provide that constancy around being able to access financing business as normal for both homeowners and for business owners as we go through the court process.
Follow up, Vaughn?
Yes, please. Earlier this month, my colleague Gord Hoekstra asked the government how many Aboriginal title claims have been filed here in BC, and the answer back from the AG's ministry was no. Go to the court registry. Is the reason you're not willing to say how many of these claims because your government doesn't know, or because there are so many of them that you don't want to alarm the public?
Well, there are multiple land claims underway in British Columbia. They all are filed with and managed by the Ministry of Attorney General within the province of British Columbia. That hasn't changed. That continues to be the case. These land claims and litigation related to Section 35 of the Constitution have been an ongoing challenge and opportunity for reconciliation over multiple generations in this province. Multiple governments have struggled with how to move forward and address these issues. There have been referendum on First Nations rights. We have seen administrations enter into agreements with Haida First Nation, where we continued that work after forming government. It started with Gordon Campbell. It concluded with our government, with the Haida Agreement. The challenge, I guess, as I would put it, is no one has really nailed how to move forward on this in order to provide both the certainty to the business community, but also address reconciliation. So that's what we're trying to do, trying to find paths outside of court to resolve these issues. There are many claims that have been filed that have been there for a decade or more and are not moving forward in any meaningful way. There are some that are being advanced quite rapidly. In our assessment of how we take on where to focus, we do focus on those higher risk areas where we're looking at going to court because we really do want to avoid court wherever possible. So while filed claims are certainly one measurement of the work, it's not a complete measurement. And there are pieces of work that we're doing where there is no litigation. So what we're working on is trying to find a way to report to British Columbians the work that we're doing with First Nations so that they get a picture of what's happening and a comprehensive picture, providing transparency and to the degree that we can, certainty around where we're going. And this is obviously a significant challenge one.
We'll go next to Michael Williams, 1130 News.
Yeah, hi, Premier. When it comes to the loan guarantees, have you received any written commitments from major lenders that, yes, in fact, your proposed guarantees will keep mortgages flowing and the area's real estate market stable? Is that something the province can guarantee landowners in the affected area today?
What I can assure landowners in the affected area is that we have met with all the major banks and credit unions. They advise us that none of them have changed their lending policies in the region, in the affected area, in response to the Cowichan decision. They're monitoring, but they continue to lend business as usual. They have advised us that they will let us know if that changes. We continue to check in with them. But the goal here is to provide not just that assurance. The goal here is so that people know that if that changed, if there was an issue that came up and they decided to change their lending policy, that we would have a policy in place so that that's just one less thing for these landowners to worry about as we work through the court process to continue to defend their private property rights.
Follow up, Michael?
Yeah, thank you. Now, we know obviously the province is appealing the ruling, seeking a stay, but if that appeal fails, what is Plan B? Is your government willing to legislate concrete protections for fee simple owners?
We're looking at all possible options to respond to the court decision. I've heard suggestions that we should just use the notwithstanding clause. I think it's important for people to know that that is not available when you're talking about Section 35 rights of First Nations people. And so that's just not a legislative option that's available to us. But we're certainly looking at all options to respond. The big challenge is that it's likely that we're going to have to get to the Supreme Court of Canada. There's another case in New Brunswick, very similar fact pattern, but the court reached an opposite decision on that coast, and both are timed to arrive at the Supreme Court of Canada at about the same time. And so to get final resolution of this from the Supreme Court of Canada will be very crucial, and then we'll go from there.
We have time for one more question from Katie DeRosa, CBC.
Hi, Premier. I didn't hear if you specifically committed to any financial support for those affected by the floods. And since the flooding has happened, have you had conversations with your counterparts in Washington State about their flood prevention plans?
Yeah, thanks, Katie. Yes, we're providing direct support right now in the flood-affected area through municipal government responses, and we will continue to do that. We're working with the federal government on specific responses around disaster support. They recently changed the rules around disaster support, so we'll have to navigate that with them. But we will work with the affected property owners to try to recover some disaster support from the federal government. I had the opportunity to meet with Governor Ferguson yesterday. He obviously is facing a very significant challenge in his state. The rains that are happening that just finished and the rains that are forecast continue to threaten major infrastructure in Washington state. I offered our assistance if we can be of any assistance to Washington. He knows that's available. He offered the same to us. Fortunately, we don't need that assistance right now. What we need is a long-term resolution of resolving the water coming over from Washington state into British Columbia. And I look forward to working with him on that challenge. But right now he is really in it in terms of emergency response in his state, and the impacts are still happening and likely to still happen over the coming week.
Follow-up, Katie?
Yes, MLA Bruce Banman has been critical, saying that people in the Sumas Valley should not have to rely on air raid sirens from Washington to warn them about coming floods. Why does BC not direct texts about flooding?
Maybe it's helpful to just take a step back. We had significant advance warning about this, both the impacts of the weather system and the rising waters in Washington state because of increased cooperation and investment in river monitoring done by both British Columbia and Washington state in cooperation. With that significant advance window that we had a very different outcome this time than we did in 2021. And part of that was early warnings to farmers and other affected people in the community that enabled them to move livestock. One of the farmers I met with yesterday talked about moving the cows from his farm over to his cousin's farm, that he had the time to do that because of the early warning. Obviously, still problematic for him, but at least he was able to move some of his livestock and minimize some of the impacts. And so the suggestion that people didn't get warnings or didn't get early warnings is not correct. When we make decisions about sending out a text or other alert, it's not just us. We're in partnership with the local governments who are leading the emergency response, and those decisions are made by public service members with the support and participation of local governments who know the regions, who understand where the text messages go, and what the best mechanism is to notify people in their region. We rely heavily on that local knowledge, and that was the case in this emergency as well. There's a balance between not wanting to panic people, but wanting to give people lots of notice so that they're able to make that decision. It is an imperfect science, but we do our best with the local government through the public service to do that.
That concludes today's event. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much. Merry Christmas.